We're just going to start the program as it relates to the agenda. We're ready.
Oh, ready. All right. See you guys later. Bye bye, Michelle.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. You ready, Clara? Your turn.
No, it's not.
No? Mhm. The way that we practice. Okie dokie. Well, is Sean welcoming us? Am I welcoming us? What do we
No, Sean's going to be the first person on here.
to speak? Yes.
Yeah, because he's going to
We're ready.
introduce us.
Right. Sean, you ready? You're muted, Sean.
I am ready.
We're on. We're streaming now. Do we have the slide that introduces Sean?
The slide was up. I'll cue you guys again. 1 second, please.
Okay, Sean, you're on.
Hello, everyone. I would like to, sorry about the delay there. I'd like to thank everyone to the Sister Cities, San Diego, Black Entrepreneur Women's Summit, part 1 of the series. I thank you again from the bottom of my heart for everyone attending. The first thing I would like to say is that my name is Sean McClendon again. I'm the founder of Sister Cities Project, and Sister Cities Project was created to create a formal partnership between underserved communities and affluent communities and underserved communities here in San Diego County, eventually nationwide. What we want to try to do is build a new relationship between the communities and deepen cultural understanding between those communities as well. That's a little bit about Sister Cities. If you'd like to learn more about Sister Cities, what I would encourage you to do is actually visit the website at sistercitiesproject.org. Because what I really want to do is I want to talk about why we're here today. And the way I want to do that is actually to tell a story, to connect personally, to tell you how I connect to everything that's going on. And so usually what I like to do is tell the story of my mother and the connection that I have with her. So growing up, I grew up in Long Beach, very small house in Long Beach, probably about 800 rooms, so very small, didn't have a lot of money. My mom, sometimes because we didn't have a lot of money, for example, things would happen like the car would break down. And so my mom routinely would take the bus to work. She had a job in a city 20 miles away, so she would routinely take the bus to work 3 hours away, and then she would take the bus home 3 hours. And a lot of times that would be the routine, and what she would actually do is come home and she would make sure everyone was okay. At the time, I had an uncle that lived there, my mother, me. We also had my sister and her 3 kids that also lived there. And so what she would always do was come home after a long day, 3 hours on the bus, make sure everyone was okay. And then what she would actually do is she'd go in her room, she'd lay in the bed and she'd actually close the door. And as a 13-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, of course, you don't understand what's going on. You know, you just think, you don't know the difference. So you just think it's part of your life. And so what I learned later on is that my mom was actually suffering from cancer, and she actually suffered from cancer for years. And so the routine of her going to the room to lay down and close the door after she took care of everyone was actually her being very sick. And she mustered as much as energy as she could just to take care of everyone and then go lay down. So that was my life. And one of the things that I did one day is talking to one of our moderators, Michelle Harris Price, is that, you know, she reminded me that my mother, you know, died at 45, the same age I am now. And the way I looked at it is that my mom never really had an opportunity to live out all the dreams that she had. So Sister Cities Project for me, I tell a lot of people, is just as much her dream as it is mine. And all I want to see is that we support Black women so that they can live out their dreams. So that's how my connection, it's a very important story to me. And that's why Sister Cities Project's not just my, it's not just my organization or the organization that I started with the team of people. It's also my purpose in life. So it's extremely important to me. So what I would like to do next is actually take some time to thank our sponsors. We couldn't have done it without them. Goldman Sachs, 10,000 Small Businesses, Multicultural Convention Services Network, which is the business of Claire Carter, our moderator, the San Diego Business District, the San Diego Workforce Partnership, and Urban Alchemy 360, and also our technology partner 8560, and so many other partners that we've had through this journey. And I'll give them their just due at the end of this, but I'd like to thank our partners. And without further ado, I would actually like to introduce our moderators. These are two women that I know personally. I've come to grow to love them as women. They are two of the most professional, motivating, inspirational, intelligent women that I know. So I just want to let them take over. So I'm turning it over to you, Claire Carter and Michelle Harris Price.
Well, thank you so much, Sean, for that wonderful introduction. And we love you too. All right.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for all that you do, continuing to be that serial entrepreneur that you are. And thanks for sharing that story about your mom. That was very touching.
Yeah, that was deep.
Yeah, very much so. So I would like to, at this time, say good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the Sister Cities Project, presenting the first San Diego Black Women Entrepreneur Summit, Series 1. I'm Claire Carter, and I'm honored to share today's session with my co-moderator with my esteemed friend and business colleague, Michelle Price. We're extremely excited to moderate this dynamic panel of women owners and to present the first Sister City San Diego Women Entrepreneur Summit today. Before I get started, I have just a few little housekeeping items that we want to go through just to make sure that everybody stays on task. And I hope you guys stay with us because we have a dynamic session for you today. So a few of these housekeeping we'll cover. Our session today, our interactive session, will be about approximately 2.5 hours. All the guests will be muted throughout the session in an effort to get through this entire program. Throughout the session, you will have opportunity to ask questions of our guest speaker as well as our panelists. And you will do that by using the little chat button at the bottom. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. As well as we have a networking section in here for you to get to know each other, because that's what really this is all about. is that we need to make these powerful connections. So the agenda will go as follows. We'll start off with our guest keynote speaker, Dr. Dell Gines, followed by a Q&A. Yes, at that time, you have the opportunity to throw in your questions in the chat box. And we really would hope that you start throwing them in as you hear it, because there's going to be so much information that's going to be shared in this very short period of time. So just start throwing those questions as they come to mind when you hear the speakers. And so then after that, it will be followed by our networking. This will be a little different because we're not physically looking at each other to network. So it's a little bit different doing this Zoom networking. But we're going to still try to do our best by providing you with an opportunity to just put your chat information into the chat box, which is going to be at the bottom of your screen. And all you have to do is just click on that button and start typing, right? And just introduce yourself. Say your name, your business, and you can leave your personal social media link there so that people can then follow you and or continue the conversation. All right. So then we're going to be having information about the Eco Agency, which is going to be presented by the Sister Cities founder. And then it's going to be closing remarks and announcements at that time. So throughout this session, again, you'll have an opportunity to make your comments, use that chat button, and your questions will be received by one of our tech and one of our Sister City committee members who will be on the call, Leslie, who will be introduced a little later. And then she will take those questions and then she will direct them to the person in which you had a question for. But make sure you put their name in there, okay? So that is going to be, if you run into any tech issues, we have Adria, our IT manager, who's on site here with us. So throw a little chat and let her know what your problems are and see if she might be able to help you, or maybe she'll give you her number and you can text her or something. All right, so that's it for the housekeeping. And Michelle, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that before I go into a little short story about who I am.
No, I'm really excited. I just want to thank everybody here for taking time out of your day to be with us as we kick off an adventure, the likes of which San Diego has never seen.
Right.
So go ahead, Clara. Tell them who you is.
All right. All right. Just a little bit about me. I have a story. I have a strong, loving family and lifelong friends I've made growing up in Emerald Hills, a middle-class Black family neighborhood of San Diego. After attending my neighborhood public schools, I worked 22 years for a major corporation, SDG&E. When my safe corporate job was no longer fulfilling, I realized I had the energy, ability, and the resilience to forge a new path for myself. I found my niche after several successful ventures as a serialpreneur. When I formed the Multicultural Convention Services Network, MCCSN, as we have those acronyms, I found excitement and fulfillment helping others plan their meetings and their events. I produced several programs, generated millions in revenue for the city of San Diego. But I've also experienced the challenges confronting women in this industry. I became determined to change the world around me into something better for myself and for others. So I went back to school. I combined my education, my creative talents, resources, and ability to forge trusting and supportive relationships to create the annual Women in Tourism and Hospitality National Conference. Our acronyms are WIP, so you'll hear us say a lot about WIP. The WIP conference uniquely focuses on women supporting each other and sharing how they overcame their obstacles, how they broke through the glass ceiling, and their strategies for a better future. My conference is a great start but many challenges remained for myself as a Black woman, entrepreneur, and for others. That's why I wanted to be part of the Sister Cities project. Together we can rise beyond the glass ceiling and soar as far as our imagination and our hard work will take us. I am one of you. So Michelle, with that, what is your story?
What is my story? Wow. Emerald Hills in the house. So we both grew up in Emerald Hills, but I didn't know that. That's the first time I found that out when we talked. So I arrived in San Diego from Kodiak Island Naval Base in Alaska, courtesy of my father, who was a chief in the Navy. And my mother, she was a spoken word artist who substitute taught at Lincoln and Morris in Crawford and various high schools. And she was also a fierce community activist who had actually worked at the Harlem Negro Theater, American Negro Theater in Harlem with Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. And, she would always talk about those times. And so I kind of have come up in this community. We were one of the first Black families to buy a home in Valencia Park when they started letting us buy homes in this part of town. What people don't know about this is this used to be the suburbs of San Diego. So this was considered the suburbs. This was the Rancho Bernardo back in that day. So that's what people need to know. They need to remember that, okay? We need to remember who we are. So I also lived in Skyline, in Canto, and Emerald Hills, which is where I live now. I went to O'Farrell Junior High School. I went to Morris and Patrick Henry, and I got married and worked for UCSD and Qualcomm for 23 years. So I spent 18 years at UCSD, and then the other 4 I didn't spend at Qualcomm, but I kind of bounced around after that, and then decided to just jump from wage slave to the entrepreneur lifestyle I craved because I was tired of getting laid off. And I just said, hey, I might as well use my time, right? I might as well. So 16 years later, I've been a caregiver for my parents who have passed now, and I'm starting over. So I saw the state of business here in this community that we grew up in, not like this, and figured that what basically amounts to economic malpractice. So I just jumped in with both feet to the Diamond BID. And this is the co-work behind me. That's what it looks like. That's where we are. And we were contacted by Sister Cities Project, and now I'm here with you. So that's all I have to say about that. What I would like to say now, though, is I would love to introduce you, because y'all get to meet Dr. Del Gines now, Senior Community Development Advisor for the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas. He's also the co-author of the white paper, Building Ecosystems in Communities of Color, which is actually what inspired me to envision what you guys are pretty much getting to experience here through the collaboration we've all been able to put on in really only about 6 weeks. So what you all are seeing here is what we have done. He spotted a trend. He saw 1 million Black women had started businesses from 2012 to maybe 2017, and nobody was really talking about it besides pointing to it and saying, hey, isn't that great? And being that he works for the Federal Reserve, you know who they are, they control our money. So he had questions. What was driving the trend? What were implications for policy? And Black women about this. The same 4 questions we're going to be asking our panelists. And, before we bring you into the spotlight, Del, we thought we would do a little pop-up poll. Can we put that up? And then we wondered if you could maybe speak to the results. I think you might be able to. Thank you for being here. So if you guys could just take the poll for us. We really do want to get information from you so that we can understand where we need to start. We know that we have a long road, to do, but we want to figure out where should we be starting? What do people know already? What's holding us back the most?
Okay, so Michelle, what is it that you would like for them to do? Would you like for the audience to put their information in the chat box?
Well, what I want them to do, I'm seeing a poll.
Yes.
I see a poll and it says, do you need to be a Black woman entrepreneur? I think probably that would be best for this particular session that we're doing.
Yes.
That's what we're really interested in now. Yes, if you're a Black woman entrepreneur or one that has aspirations, then, tell us what's holding your business back the most. Just pick the one that you feel is holding you back the most.
And place it in the chat box, right?
No, there's a poll on the screen. Just select it with your mouse.
Okay,
Can you see the poll?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, so can everybody see the poll?
Yes, I think they can.
How fast are we going to end it? Okay, cool, great.
Yep, it
Thank
started.
you. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
I was worried for a minute when you started asking Claire. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Am I doing C?
That's why we're co-moderating.
That's right. Oh, okay. That's what we thought. But Dale, what do you think?
Mhm.
It is relatively consistent, with what we put up there, but you didn't ask a couple of the important questions, like the role of social capital and relationships, which is an important one as well. So
there we go.
but
So
yeah,
with that, here, it's all yours.
that's pretty good distribution, which, it's pretty consistent what I saw, my research, and Claire's story is really consistent with what I saw in my research. I had, when I was in Denver, doing an outreach events, I had one lady in the community event, and she was a nuclear engineer making over $160,000 a year. And she says, I stopped, I had to leave that place, and start my own business because they were killing me over there. And I was like, wow, you're making over $160,000 and you're leaving it to start your own business because you're ready to leave the corporate environment. Then I was like, well, shoot, $160,000, where can I get that job? So I was thinking, if you're leaving, let me hop on in there. But that story, like, most people, it was interesting, and I get into my regular conversation in a second, but since you asked me the question, Michelle, one of the number one reasons to put what I call a push motivation that Black women indicated the reason they started their own business was because they were just tired of their job. They and it wasn't always negative, right? So it wasn't always negative. They just felt that they could do more. They felt that they had peaked. But oftentimes it really was negative. It was that old story in our Black communities, like they're training people to do the job. They're training their boss essentially, right? Or they feel like they're not being valued. And if we have more time, I tell you some of the stories that we heard. And so just to kind of level set, the conversation over the next few minutes, I'm going to spend about half and half talking about Black women and the other half in ecosystem building, since that's what you all are working on. And these views are my own, not necessarily the views of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. But we're going to spend some time, and I think it's important to set this up and why I'm excited about what you're doing and about the Sister Cities project and, being here with you today, because Black women are important. What they're doing is unprecedented. What they're doing needs to be celebrated, and what they're doing definitely needs to be acknowledged. And I think, probably starting back in 2017, really talking around the nation about how awesome Black women are in the entrepreneurial space. And I think it was important for us to do it as the Federal Reserve, because we're the Federal Reserve, and because my particular responsibilities at the Federal Reserve are to really address underserved populations and small business and economic development for the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. And so we kind of cover the middle 7 states of the nation. There's 12 regional banks in the Board of Governors in DC. But this was very important. And so the reason that I got to this space was, so I'm doing this series of presentations around the region about all these cities. And it's called African American Economic Development, Entrepreneurship as an Economic Development Strategy in Black Communities. And I'm starting to look at these, this is back in 2015. So I'm starting to look at these numbers and I'm like, what? You know, you have to kind of do a double take. So I'm looking at all these new Black women businesses that were coming on the scene. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this situation? You know, here you have this unprecedented historical trend. I mean, we've never seen a trend like this in the history of the United States, what Black women had did between 2002 and 2012. And nobody was talking about it. You would occasionally hear a story that would come out and they would say, well, you know, Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the nation, but you didn't hear anything that normally follows up those kind of conversations. Like, these are the policy recommendations. These are the program recommendations. All of these other things is like, you saw a few articles that would drop that. And so I'm like, okay, I went to my boss. She's African-American lady. And I said, Tammy, I said, we need to do something on this. I said, because this is an unprecedented phenomenon and nobody's talking about this. And so she's like, go ahead, you know, give it a try. So what I did was I organized what is known as a qualitative, you know, research, which means it's not numbers and data, it's real lived experiences. And I did 5 focus groups around our region with a total of 35 Black women and that were entrepreneurs. And then we did what's called triangulation with other research, and there wasn't hardly any research out there, so it was really only 2 of the pieces. And the findings were remarkably consistent. And kind of this is what we found. First of all, the fact that people, and Michelle prefaced it in her speech, Black women started 1 million businesses. Actually, I take that back because that's not even accurate. Black women businesses grew by 1 million. And we know that a large chunk of businesses failed by year 5. So between 2002 and 2012, Black businesses net growth was 1 million businesses. That means that they probably started closer to 1.25 million, if not more, businesses during that time period. Now, Latino women started roughly the same amount, but here's the biggest difference. The Latino population in the United States went like this. Black women population was like this. So when you control for population size, nobody else was close to producing this amount of businesses that Black women produced during that time period. And so we spent a lot of time really talking, you know, around the nation about this, outreach events. You know, we were in Forbes magazine, Black Enterprise magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, on the radio, newspapers, just trying to show people the awesomeness of Black women entrepreneurs and try to get people to think about ways that we can create policy and strategy and practices to be able to support Black women in business. And we're still trying, because I have not seen the energy around the nation that I hope to generate around this topic. And so when we start looking at, you know, what we're finding with Black women, you know, some of the things that were really important were that while Black women businesses grew, that they were still less than half of their next closest peer in terms of annual revenue. For example, the average Black woman-owned business generates $27,000 a year. The next closest peer group is the Hispanic women, who generate $54,000. So our Black women, are you all, the average of you all that are on this call, are more likely to generate less in sales. And a lot of that has to do with the resources in the ecosystem that surrounds you. A lot of Black women, 75% of all Black women are what are called in NAICS codes, which are industry codes. They're in 4 of those. So 75% of all Black women businesses are NAICS codes, 4 NAICS codes out of about 14 of them. So very, very clustered and concentrated, right? And a lot of that are service-based businesses. So we're seeing a lot of service-based businesses, and what's the thing that we know about service-based businesses? That they have low barrier to entry, they require low capital. But this is what I say about Black women. Now, I've talked to hundreds of you all throughout the years, last couple of years, that are entrepreneurs. Black women, and my people from the church will know what I'm talking about. They're able to conceive it and speak it into existence. And that's the phenomenal thing, is that in spite of all the resource starvation and challenges that Black women are facing in starting business, they're using their natural aptitude, intellect, and talent and ability to go out and put it into existence and making it happen. And it's really interesting because the founder of LinkedIn had an old saying, and I think he was repeating it from somebody else. And he said, you know, entrepreneurship is when you jump out of the airplane and you build the parachute on the way down. And so when I was going all around the nation speaking on Black women entrepreneurship, what I would say is, yeah, you know, But the difference is Black women are jumping out of the airplane, and to create their parachute, all they have is a toothpick and a napkin, while other groups are getting like the canvas, the backpack, all the things necessary that go with it. And then another saying that I said was like, if Black women are doing all of this with 5 cents, what would happen if we gave them $1, right? So when you start thinking about these things, I'm like, and I tell everybody, I was on a call, like this is literally my second speaking engagement today. I got one more afterwards, and I did a speaking engagement yesterday morning. I talked a little bit about this yesterday morning out in North Carolina. And I said, what is $10,000 times a million? So if you multiply $10,000 times a million, so if you added $10,000 more to that $27,000 in revenue that I said Black women were generating on average, you multiply that $10,000, and they're still not near close to Hispanic women entrepreneurs, but $10,000 times a million, and imagine the implications of that in the Black community and the economy as a whole. And you're starting to see the power of what would happen if we really put some energy into supporting our Black women entrepreneurs. And that's why I'm so excited about what you're doing in the Sister Cities project, because while I've seen other people that are doing interventions, and a lot of great interventions, I got a really cool podcast up with Shelly Bell from Black Girl Ventures out on the East Coast, and she's moving west, going national, and Makisha Booth from Denver going back east and going national.
All right. Sorry about that. We're having technical difficulties right now, but if you guys would just kind of hang in there with us until we get Dr. Guys back on, that would be great. Maybe at this time we can just take a little bit of Q&A, maybe not from him, but maybe there's something you want to ask of me.
Yeah.
I'm the only one on the screen. Are you still with me, Michelle?
Well, let's see. I'm not on video. I'm not on video right now.
Not either.
Yeah,
Oh.
but we can hear each other.
All right.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, maybe if you guys have any questions of Michelle and I while we get the technical issues resolved, that would be great. You can put those in the chat box. But other than that, Michelle and I are never at a loss for words. So
no, we never are. Look, we could even go, look, when we get tired of talking about today, we could talk about last year or 40 years ago, or,
And any of those challenges that we've had along this journey,
Yeah.
and that has been something that Michelle and I have had the opportunity of just, bouncing things off of, because she's very, Michelle, like she said, she's never at a loss for words, but she's very tech savvy as well as business. So I just love to have smart friends. And that's one of the things
Our friends.
That's one of the things I love, is having smart friends, because that's how you learn things, is just having a girl-to-girl talk. And you know what I felt is, looks like our speaker is
Back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back.
I don't know.
There he is.
I don't know what happened.
Carry on.
I don't know what happened. So I switched to my phone because
too much energy.
Michelle, the devil's not going to stop me today.
Hey, you know what? No, he's not. He's 50 behind us. That's right.
So yeah, we're going to celebrate Black women today. So, when we talk about this, Black women represent 59% of all Black-owned businesses. They're the only ethnic group that has more of their female counterparts than their male counterparts in business. And in terms of the economy, the economic impact, Black women over the decade between 2002 and 2012 literally doubled the amount of revenue that they put into the national economy, going from roughly 20 million to a little bit over 40, or 20 billion to a little bit over 40 billion. So, you know, when we talk about this, we're not just talking about it to be nice, to be happy, and to be celebrated and be ethical as to why we should support Black women. There's a strong economic rationality for it too, especially when we get into Black communities and the impact that they have on their households and things of that nature. And so these are all important things, because when we go about the power of racism is that it seeks to marginalize those that are not of the normal group, right? And Black women in particular historically have been marginalized both because of race and gender. This is why we talk about this concept of intersectionality, right? So intersectionality basically means that, you know, Black people, Black women, you know, often get it because of their race, and they often get it because of their ethnicity. And so what racism does, one of the functions of racism is that it minimizes and it marginalizes the impact and the power of groups that are not the normative or dominant group. And so when we look at Black women, and when I look at history now that I've been working on this for years, and I'm like, we still don't have attention. We still don't have the level of support. We still don't have the level of commitment that should be happening for the group that's producing the most entrepreneurs in the nation. Then I know that there's something systemic going on. And so here's the thing about ecosystems, and I'm going to explain what that is in a second. If you have a systemic problem, you need a systemic solution, right? So if you have a systemic problem, you need a systemic solution. The problem that we've been facing recently is the fact that we're trying to solve systemic problems with single program solutions. So we'll say things like, you know what? We recognize that Black women have not been supported the way they should, so we just need to get them access to capital and that'll be okay. But here's what's interesting. You know, in my research, and other research may show something different, it's quite possible, it's qualitative. But in my research, access to capital wasn't even the number one thing Black women said that they needed. The dominant thing they said that they needed even before capital was greater access to knowledge and information and general ability to understand what they were doing. When I went around and was asking these women, and I said, well, what do you need? You know, the number one thing they said they wish they had before they started was more information. So we know that there's huge knowledge gaps, and this knowledge is transferred in a lot of different ways, right? So you have your formal knowledge structure, you have your informal knowledge structure. Somebody mentioned, I saw in the chat, they were talking about mentoring. Black women said mentoring. Some Black women said, you know, I want a mentor that looks like me and can relate to me. Other Black women were like, I don't care. Just give me somebody that can support me. And in fact, the most successful business owner that I had in any of the focus groups was a $20 million Black woman-owned construction firm. And she said that the person that supported her most was a white man who helped her navigate the contracts and understanding things like binding issues and all of these different things. So we just need to beef up our ecosystem as a whole, all across the systems for Black women. Let's talk about issues related to issues of faith. Black women are one of the most religious groups of individuals in the nation, and a lot of them drew spiritual support through their faith-based institutions. So how do we leverage faith-based institutions to support entrepreneurship? Things that we normally don't talk about. We go straight to, what's the program on the street? What's the program in the community? How are we transferring knowledge between A to B? And so remember now, I told you that I went and I did presentations on Black women at least 30 different times, probably, and I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 10 or 15 different states and cities. And so this is the thing that I do before I leave, because everybody thinks that this is everything has to be so massive, and I want it to be massive. So I want the support to be massive. I want the ecosystem to be huge and magnificent, you know, as possible, to kind of really empower Black women the way that they should be, because they historically haven't. But the most simple solution is this. And so this is what I do. I go into these crowds, and then when I do the community event, it's usually about 75% Black, either that want to be an entrepreneur. And I say something like this. I say, okay, go ahead, raise your hand if you're a business owner. And so usually you have a large percentage of the crowd, you know, raise their hand. And I say, now I want you to look at 5 other Black women in the room. And before you leave this audience today, this hall, wherever we're speaking at today, I want you to reach out to 4 of them and say, you know what, let's set up a standing coffee date. You know, and how much is that? And I know, Michelle, you're on the West Coast, so you're highfalutin, and you're like your Starbucks with your mocha frappe lattes and all the extra cream, and it's $10 a coffee. So the cost may be inflating for this. I'm from Nebraska, so you know we do the $2 special, all black, no sugar, right? So, but multiply 10, you can even rotate it around so that every woman pays, once each time. And even if you have the fancy coffees, you're still paying less than $50 to hang out with other entrepreneurs that can support you, share your stories, and exchange information and relationships. Because one of the things the women in the research said was this. They said, I just want more peer-to-peer interaction and peer mentoring. That literally costs no money, right? So what a lot of our Black women entrepreneurs were saying doesn't even cost any money. It costs you a cup of coffee, if even that. And I know COVID makes it hard, but still, you can get 5 people on a Zoom and say, I want to get on a Zoom with my five women, once every couple of weeks, and we can just share experiences, share our network, share our knowledge, share our information, mutually support each other, so that we can all continue to move forward together. That's the start of your ecosystem right there. So while people like Michelle and team are working on this big ecosystem, the many ecosystems are those that you just step out and you do. And this concept of peer-to-peer mentoring is huge, because you may be one half a step ahead of another woman, even if it's in the same field, but you give that woman the information that you have that helps her get to that half step faster. So these are some of the things that we really need to consider. So now I'm going to conclude on what the ecosystem is, because the more technical aspects can be talked about at some other time. There's a saying that says it takes a village to raise a child, something that we all have heard before, this old proverb that we've heard. And we say that, and we just say it as it's a given, and we don't really unpack it or do anything like that, right? But why do you think they say that? So if you think about that child in that village, that child is born into a household, right? That household provides safety, protection, the first rung of knowledge. It starts integrating them into the culture. Then when they go outside of that household, what do they have? They have neighbors, other family members that reinforce the culture, provide education and information and other forms of resources. Gives us a sense of identity, a sense of place of who they are. If the village is right, it's giving them courage and confidence to be the best that they can be. So now that child is growing up into an adult, and they've been adopted that culture. They've been protected. They've been raised right. They've been taught right. They've been given the things that they need to be a successful adult. And then when they're adult, what do? They turn around and give back. Now they become the elders of the village that turn around and give back to the child. Now, in this scenario, I want you to replace that child with entrepreneur. Replace that village with ecosystem. And since we're talking about Black women, you replace that child with a Black woman entrepreneur, and that village with a strong ecosystem for Black women, and you see what we're starting to talk about. It's not just about one particular program. It's about how we put all of these pieces together to adequately support Black women in the most healthy, holistic, and strong way possible. Some of it's going to be psychology. But we didn't even talk about this. I wish I had about 15 more minutes, because I talk about the psychology of a lot of Black women, and the fact that, we need to have more confidence. As great as you are, just being able to step out. I heard somebody talking about not tooting their own horn, but being able to celebrate yourself and encourage yourself, and to know that you're great and you're awesome, because society's trying to beat it out of you, right? So the village needs to be able to protect against that. The culture of support. I've heard a lot of, intergender, battles sometimes. Black men need to do a better job of supporting and educating Black women, because Black men still have larger businesses, usually are afforded more access. And then Black women need to turn around and support the Black male businesses too, as they're struggling as well. So this is a community-centric effort. In this scenario, we're talking about Black women in the ecosystem. And we need to build that village. We need to strengthen that village, and we need to ensure that others and our allies are adequately supporting the village. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, if we gave them 5 cents and they created 1 million businesses with 5 cents, again, what can we do if we gave them $1? What would happen to Black communities in America if we gave Black women $1 versus a nickel? What would happen to the United States economy if we gave Black women $1 instead of a nickel? We would see a massive change in how this whole United States economy is done. And we would definitely see a revolution in our Black communities. So with that, I think that's my time, and we have some time for some Q&A if there's some questions.
I am just fascinated here. I don't want you to stop talking, but I know we have to have you stop talking. And we have some questions, and we've got Leslie here. She's on the Sister Cities Project leadership team, and she's just a great ally. I mean, you want to talk about the word ally? That's this woman. Think of this woman's picture, because she really does personify that. So with that, I'm just gonna hand it off, Leslie, and you can ask the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The chat is really full and the questions are really full. So I'm going to start by saying that the trends and questions are covering 3 topics, Dr. Gines: mentoring, money, access to capital, what is capital, what's the difference between working capital and capital funding, and quality relationships. Where are they? How do I find them? How do I identify them? So I'll start with one question that is at the top of the list, which is, what are the main challenges for Black women entrepreneurs?
This is going to sound very abstract, but we have not done a good job of putting a culture and a community around Black women entrepreneurs. And so it's hard to get to the individual challenges if you don't go to the environmental challenges, right? So a lot of the conversation in our focus groups was around Black women not feeling like the community supported them. But in a lot of Black communities, we don't understand or have the concept of entrepreneurship. So if we don't, as a collective, have a really strong concept of that, how can we turn around and support our Black entrepreneurs? So a lot of it is we exist within a community. And so we need to improve a community's understanding of economics, entrepreneurship, capital, and in turn, why they should celebrate what Black women are doing. From an individual perspective, I say it's just lack of knowledge, right? Like we're not trained in this stuff. I tell the story all the time. I was one of the top 10% African-American academics when I came out of high school. And not one time was I taught I could own a business, a house, a stock. I didn't even know what those things were. I was smart in math and science. They said you'd be a good engineer. So that's what I did. So now you multiply that across our Black community and with our Black women who even often have a less, at least historically, have had less access to visible role models and mentors that were Black women were doing, that were strong entrepreneurs. And, you know, people are starting from scratch. So we got to beef up the information flow within our communities, the educational systems for our entrepreneurs in our community, so that women can take this brilliant talent that they've demonstrated, connect it to the education and information, and scale a whole lot faster than what they normally would.
Thank you. Here's a specific question, and I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs are going to relate to this. How do we build business partnership and networks with quality people? I need business partners and find it hard to find someone who can match my will and my passion.
Business, I mean, I wish we had a little bit longer, because this is a complex question, because, you know, my wife had a business partner and it was a terrible experience. And this was her best friend. And she ended up stealing money from her, didn't want to do any work. And sometimes it's very difficult. We need better proxies or better ways of discovery. We need like a dating app for business partners. I don't know, maybe one of you women can design that, where it's more about complementary skill sets and complements and align energy. And that, you're right, it's very difficult to find. And so it's about part of the network, about being out there, about really seeing if you really need a partner, if you could use a subcontractor. I mean, some of these are getting into more technical stuff. And then making sure that you have really strong agreements in place once you get into that relationship. It's like a prenup, and a business version of a prenup, if you will. And then at least, you know, each one of you have an out and it's clear if it's not working out, because once these relationships get in place, especially with money, things can get tricky really fast. But if you get a great partner, if you get a really great partner, it's going to accelerate your business significantly, probably more with it can have one.
Here's I'm going to ask you to speak to something, because it's a question and a statement that I think it's relative to what you've been talking about. Are ecosystems providing mentoring? And you spoke to that a little bit, but the statement that goes with this that I'd love you to speak to more is, we cannot mentor ourselves out of a systemic issue.
Right, and so mentoring really is, this is why I keep saying ecosystem. So mentoring is part of an ecosystem. So a system, again, systemic challenge needs a systemic response. And so the systemic response has to be building out a high quality ecosystem that addresses a lot of factors that we can control first, and then we can get our allies to buy in. often what I've seen happen in the Black community is that we try to go outside of ourselves first and ask others to do for us what we should be doing first for ourselves. And so this doesn't mean that we shouldn't ask others to address issues of systemic racism, things of that nature, because we should, because they should. But we have, if you combine the Black purchasing power all across the United States, we have the 13th largest economy in the world, right? We have everything we need. What we don't, we have everything from a technical standpoint that we need. What we have not done a great job is organizing ourselves around what we have and maximizing it. So this comes to cultural elements. How do we improve our culture? How do we support each other? How do we build capacity? How do we make mutual sacrifice? All of these things that go into it. Like I tell people all the way, so I speak all around the nation on ecosystem building, Black, white, rural, whatever. The question that I've been asking is, why are we not looking at Black Wall Street as an ecosystem building model? Like, they were so strong that the United States had us in the military and to bomb them out of existence. And they were doing this in the height of Jim Crow. So if we can point back to anything to say what we can do in the future, we can look back to the past and say, if they did it, we definitely can. And so a lot of that's going to start though with our black women, because Black women are driving a lot of the energy now. And so I get a lot of questions sometimes from guys. Most of the time, Black men are really supportive. But every now and then I get some of those wonky guys that'll be like, why Black women, feeling salty and whatever. And usually I get sarcastically say, well, why not? But then I start breaking it down. I say, look, first of all, you have a level of energy and motivation there right now that doesn't necessarily exist in the Black male population for entrepreneurship, maybe for other things, but not entrepreneurship. Secondly, Black women are overwhelmingly the head of their household. So if we can get them to have better businesses, it improves the whole household. Thirdly, all the entrepreneurship research says that kids are more likely to become entrepreneurs if they see their parents. So we need to be thinking multi-generational. So if I help Black women improve their business rates and their entrepreneurship, their kids are going to see that. They're going to be the beneficiaries of the greater resources. They're going to turn about and be better entrepreneurs in the future. So now you have a multi-generational strategy. And we're not leaving out Black men. We're just saying that right now there's a lot of energy here. So we need to pay particular attention to the group that has been left out the most. So that's kind of my response. I mean, that's a long-winded way to get to the answer to that question, but I wanted to sneak that in there because I didn't get to put it in my presentation.
I was hoping you might, so I did that on purpose. Thank you. There's a specific question from somebody, and this is about money. And I'm just going to read the question. It says, I recently just started my business in April 2020, and I have found issues with fully launching my apparel business. I've been met with blockage of SBA loans, as well as some investors not wanting to help due to me being a startup company. Can you please recommend some sites or businesses that help fund startup businesses in the inception stage, needing the capital to launch my business? Money comes up a lot as a question in all of this.
Yeah, so a lot, here's the challenge. So because there's the levels of Black wealth are so low that we can't leverage a lot of our personal wealth and assets into entrepreneurship like in other ethnic groups. Black women and white women both start with the same percentage of using their personal money to start their businesses. The difference is white women have a higher level of household wealth when they start. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is a few things, and some of it is going to be not necessarily capital oriented, but it's going to be looking at, can you start at a smaller scale and use the earned revenue and proof of concept for your business to turn around and bootstrap the business? That's one. And then when you can demonstrate a higher level of proof of concept, you're more attractive to both equity-based financiers and banks. Also look at other forms of potential capitalization. So now we have crowdfunding mechanisms, and some of this is going to be dependent on how much you need too. So some of it, look at crowdfunding platforms, look at alternative lenders. So you have this whole new slew of online lenders that may be able to support you. You have CFI lenders now. I don't know which ones are in San Diego, but I'm sure there's some there or in proximity. Community development financial institutions that tend to lend alternative credit from a community-based perspective. So start looking for these alternative sources of capital and connecting to places like your small business development corporations or others, and leverage the network. Because I guarantee you, if you're in apparel business and you connect with an apparel business group, that they're going to know a whole lot more than me about how to capitalize that type of business. So again, it goes back to networking, social capital, and relationships.
So I'm being told that we have a couple of minutes. Somebody asked a question. This is again about money and it's specific, and I don't know if you can speak to it quickly, but the question is, what is the distinction between working capital and capital funding?
So working capital is simply the amount of capital that goes into supporting your cash flow needs, your ongoing cash flow needs. So working capital is, so let's say you need inventory because Christmas is coming. So you need working capital to be able to support, the acquisition of your inventory, to be able to support the accounts receivable, because there's going to be a lag between when you sell and when you get paid, usually, depending on the type of business. So working capital is kind of the thing that you need to keep your business running once you get it, versus like some of your traditional startup capital, which you may need to buy equipment to get set up with your lease, or other kinds of, let's say, commercial, loans, which would go to buy property or other kind of factors. So, but these are great questions, because these are questions that if you get into a good business education course, they're going to teach you this, and it's going to help you understand to be able to run your business more efficiently.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of chat and there's a lot of questions, and I'm being told by my team that it's time to wrap up this part of this. So,
well, if you want to do it, if Michelle or whomever, if you just want to screen print them or print them and put them in a Word doc, I'll try to answer them all.
That would be great.
That way.
We have a LinkedIn group actually, and we were talking about just for everybody who's asking the questions that post Summit, we would get those into the LinkedIn group and answer all the questions. So with that, I want to just I'm going to step out because my time is over, but Clara, I'm going to let you continue on.
All right. Well, before we continue on, thank you, Dr. Gines, and thank you, Leslie, for moderating that chat session. But Dr. Gines, so much information, as you said, and I can't wait to have the part 2 of this conversation. You just hit a home run with all.
Can I say one final thing?
Yeah.
Look, I love you all. You're important. You matter. And keep working hard together, and we're going to be all right.
Awesome. Great advice. I believe the same thing. So we're going to go in, and I'll come back a little later, Dr. Gines, if you're going to stay on and join us for a little while longer. Now I'd like to just talk about what's happening in our series. I mentioned earlier that this is series 1. We will have 4 series to the Black women entrepreneurs here in San Diego. And so series 2 is going to be all about social capital and culture, areas of ecosystem. Both areas are really key to understand and learn how to navigate in San Diego as a Black woman CEO. Social capital is your relationship capital, who you have access to through your networks, and we all should have great networks. It's not just what you know and who you know anymore. Because of social media, it's also who knows what about you. And I've been told that that's the most important, is who knows what about you. That means you've done your job in branding and getting your information out to the social network. So better than anybody. Also, who might be faster to respond or present themselves in a more appealing manner. As for culture, we all know that Black folks have cultural norms and beliefs that don't serve us, especially if we start to actually be successful. I know many of you can relate to this, including our social network of friends and family that don't understand why we just don't go and get a real job, okay? Even though they're the same ones always asking us, okay, since we don't work, right? For a ride to the doctor, the store, to watch grandkids, watch a TV show, or help sabotage our intention. You know what I'm saying, because I know many of you that are entrepreneurs experience the same thing as many of us. I know it happens to me. So with that being said, again, I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you, audience, for all of your wonderful questions that you have placed out here for us. And we will continue this conversation. At this time, we'd like to give another special shout out to our sponsors. So here you go.
Good evening, this is Will Robeson,
This is Milan Rivera.
and we have Urban Alchemy 360.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy Michael K. Williams, and right now you chilling with Urban Alchemy 360. Stay up.
So much, because without our sponsors, none of this could be possible. So at this time, we're going to do some Zoom networking. So this is your time to stretch, take a break, 15 minutes, because we're coming back with our panelists, which I know many of you are waiting on that, our amazing conversation with the panelists. But before we do that, you get an opportunity to network with one another. So this is how this part will go. We have the little chat button down at the bottom. You guys have become very familiar with it. So if you can just put your information down there in the chat box, let everyone know who you are, what your business is, just real brief intro, like a 1 to 2 line max, and then give your social handles so you can stay connected through Facebook and also LinkedIn, right? And don't forget, we're going to continue this conversation in Sister Cities Facebook group, as well as Sister Cities LinkedIn group. So we encourage you all to join that network as well, because we've got a lot to talk about. Don't you agree? Enjoy your networking session. All right, we're about to wrap up our networking at this time. I'm hoping that you all, well, you guys are still out there networking. I'm gonna give you guys a minute or so to rejoin me. I know it's exciting connecting. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of more seconds. I'm seeing all of the chats out there. It looks like you guys are finishing up right now. But did you not enjoy the first part here, listening to none other than Dr. Dale Gines, just amazing information, just putting us on fire here in San Diego. And I just am so appreciative of him stopping by to share his words of wisdom as well as words of encouragement to let us know that it's our time, Black women in San Diego. We need to get it together. And I'm looking for that person that's going to step out and take on his challenge, as he mentioned about that app. All right. And if you guys don't hear up and do it, remember I told you I'm a serialpreneur. I might do it. But anyway, just kidding with you guys. Somebody needs to do it. All right. So I believe we're going to try those videos one more time so that you can see them for my sponsors with the sound. So without any further ado, here we go. Oops.
Good evening, this is Will Robeson.
This is Milan Rivera.
And we have Urban Alchemy 360.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy Michael K. Williams, and right now you chilling with Urban Alchemy 360. Stay up.
Which we're having our first conference, as I mentioned, is going to take place March the 18th to the 19th. Fingers crossed that COVID will allow us to meet again. Can't wait. And if that means we're still going to do more hybrid, with that, I think that we are getting ready for our amazing panelists that are coming up. So at this time, without any further ado, I have the extreme pleasure of introducing all of the panelists, but our first panelist, I'm just going to read a little bit about her. This is Miss Ashley Matthews. She's the founder of Dynasty Media. She is a brand stylist and lead graphic and web designer with a passion for creative collaboration and 10 years plus of experience in the field of design. Ashley works with clients to build cohesive brands and strategic websites through high quality, purposeful design. Dynasty Media is a boutique design agency that specializes in bringing ideas to life through international and creative designs that deliver high quality results driven by strategy and research. At Dynasty Media, they value the importance of building authentic client relationships and a dynamic collaborative design process. Welcome, Ashley. Our next panelist is McKenna Garganew. McKenna is a celebrity event producer of 15 years and well known for her production, Conscious Comedy Explosion. I've had the opportunity of going to a few of McKenna's events off the chain, as I could say, as seen on NBC News and the CW San Diego Live-In. This production is taking the comedy world to another level. McKenna says it's time for audience across the country to see more positive, influenced comedy shows that are clean, classy, and uplifting. We definitely can use some of that right about now, McKenna. In addition, her signature event, the Superwoman Spa Party, empowers women in our community to have positive relationships, healthy choices, and stress-free activities, which ultimately helps you live life with ease and abundance. McKenna has received several awards for her community production. She knows her calling is to transform lives through events that bring joy, happiness, and solutions to empower the heartbeat of the world. Welcome, McKenna. Next, we have the mother and daughter duo. And this is Kia and Cynthia Polar. Kia is the Chief Executive Officer of Cafe X, by any means necessary, a family and Black woman-owned cooperative coffee shop. Kia and her mother, Cynthia, opened this coffee shop together with more than just a mission to serve coffee. Cafe X is a movement to promote healing and communal wealth building for communities of color inside a sacred space through activism and artism in a natural and respectful way, one cup at a time. This space is known to seasoned business owners who want to actually enjoy their life while owning a profitable, growing, and rewarding business. Welcome, Kia and Cynthia. And our last panelist, Valerie Jackson. Valerie is the CEO of Fierce Focus Strategies. Valerie is an influential speaker, certified life coach, business strategy advisor, and the founder of Fierce Focus Strategies. Valerie's company provides professional coaching to business owners as well as individuals who are looking to take control of their life and move forward from where they are. We all need to move forward. That's what I know. As a Myers-Briggs certified practitioner and trainer, she has also worked with large organizations in improving communication, collaboration, and understanding. Welcome, Valerie. So there you have it, our amazing 4 trailblazing entrepreneurs who are we're just going to have a very, very candid conversation. And at this time, I'm not sure if my co-moderator is back with me yet, but with or without her, the show must go on. So here I am. You guys have the opportunity of having me to have this conversation with you. I'm sure Michelle will jump in at any time now. So as an entrepreneur, there's so much that goes into, our everyday life, as we know. All right. So with that, what comes to mind right now is, we're going to ask the question. I'm going to start with you, Ashley. And why did you start this business? What gave you that, I just got to do this? Okay. What was that?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say that my why definitely has developed over the years. But when I first started, I began offering design as a service. And it's something that I really enjoyed doing. And it was a cool way for me to make supplemental income on top of my day job. But as I began growing a name for myself and working with local businesses and artists around San Diego, I realized that it was something that I wanted to do full time. And I realized that I wanted to hop into freelance full time and also develop a design studio and agency. So after I had my first child, I was like, you know what? I was on maternal leave, and I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to go back to that 9-to-5 life. I'm already doing this on the side, and honestly, with the support of my family and my husband, I was like, I'm gonna do this and go all the way. And it was during that time where I started to really develop my niche and get into brand designing and web design, and fully just like, get the satisfaction from being that missing piece from entrepreneurs trying to start their business and move forward. And that just really gave me the satisfaction from being able to help them. And that was one of the main reasons why I started.
Okay, wonderful. So Ashley, really quick, well, we'll wait on the questions at the end. So you said some key things right there, as to why you started, and most people, is that additional income, but more importantly, you wanted to start something your own, and then you had that child, and that just really was like, ugh.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
System to help me, right? And that's generally what we do. We're resilient. We just go into the next gear. So again, Kia and Cynthia, let us know how this dual team, who came up with the idea, and then who said, I'm going to support you on that.
It was me.
So how'd you put your mother into this?
Yeah. She was the best possible partner I could ever pick. Yeah, I had the idea back in 2015, 16. I had just finished up a fellowship program via Rise San Diego. So shout out to Rise. And what they do in the fellowship program is encourage the fellows to create projects, community-based projects. And my idea really sparked from growing up in the Southeastern San Diego community, being very proud of being there, but also noticing a lot of deficits. Coffee being one of them, no choices other than Starbucks. Starbucks was mentioned earlier. So we, as a team, are now filling that gap for Black women. Coffee is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there aren't people that look like us. And so I wanted to create not only a community center, but a place where we could thrive economically and pass down that generational wealth. That's part of our mission. It's part of our brand. I have a master's in nonprofit leadership and development and management. And I decided I want a business because we need to be able to make that financially and pass it down to our community. Nonprofits are great and needed, but we have a niche to fill as well. So that fellowship really started me thinking about something larger than myself to create for and with Black people throughout the region. And my mom, you came on board in 2018?
Yeah.
And she cleaned everything all up. She nice and shiny operationally. And you can speak to your draw and your passion for community building. She's been through.
Oh, yeah. Like my daughter, where her master's is in leadership and nonprofit. Mine is business, but with a concentration on HR management. And then my master's studies were human behavior, which encompasses everything. It was just a good fit to try and connect the social networking pieces of Cafe X, because we do know a lot of people in the community, and a lot of people know us. And she, my draw was that I just understand and see the vision, the collaborations, the networking, the need to build this financial legacy for not only our family, but the community. So it was really something that I felt it was just destined for me to be on board with. I spent most of my career in the corporate arena, in healthcare, the finance side of things, and then have worked with several nonprofits in our community. So I am very well versed, understand it, see it. I know the pitfalls. I know what we need to do to get out of it, and those collaborations. So I brought a lot of experience in that to the table for Cafe X. And I am very happy to have my daughter as my CEO. I'm Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, and couldn't be more thrilled with that combination. So, yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And you said some key things there, both of you. I love that, Kia, where you're talking about that generational wealth. That's what we as Black women got to do. We're always like the backbones of the family, right? And we've got to consistently think about what is our legacy going to be when we're gone, right? At the end of the day, you work, 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 work. And I know I'm working from sun up to sundown, and I'm sure everybody on this channel is as well on the session. But that is very important to us as Black people to think about generational wealth. And then for your mom, Cynthia, to come in and have you as her CEO, that's amazing. But then Cynthia says something. What I know is, like Cynthia, you millennials need us seniors, okay?
Yes, absolutely. Wait, no, us boomers, okay? That's what we need.
But they need, and Cynthia, you said something that was really key, you know, when you were talking about your years of experience working for the corporate job, and that you were able to take those experiences and bring them back. You know,
exactly what we did. You just did it faster. You wasn't playing around. You didn't take 23 years, okay? That's what you didn't do. Congratulations, okay? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Back and alive with us, okay?
That's
good.
Right. I'm back. I had to go do a presentation, you know, another. I literally, this is a popular day. I must give my granddaughter, Shalise, a shout out. She's 21 today, y'all. 21, my granddaughter. I can't even believe it. You know, it's like crazy. So,
Exactly.
you know, I had another board of directors I had to be for the bid because they funded my position for the bid. So I had to go give a report. So I apologize for having to leave, but I'm back. So. What do you do? I'm Black woman, right? I'm Superwoman.
So we're just getting started with the conversation. Ashley and Kia and Cynthia, we just talked about why did they start their business. So we haven't spoke to McKenna yet and or to Valerie.
Okay.
So if you want to jump in there, Michelle, please.
Where's the? I mean, we had specific questions though. I don't know.
Yeah, we're on just why did they start? So the next one we can talk to her about what challenges. You know, we can.
Oh, that one. Okay, I know you guys didn't have any of those.
We know we got a lot of those.
No, we don't have any of those. So who do we want to direct this question to?
McKenna or Valerie?
Okay. Let's see. Valerie, you know what? You're the rocket scientist. I want to. I forgot that she was a rocket scientist, y'all. Isn't that crazy? How you forget something like that? ADHD. You know what I'm saying? But I want to know, Valerie, what were your challenges? Because I know that we've had similar experiences taking care of parents, having to stop and restart, you know. So tell me about that. What were your challenges?
You know, so thank you. First of all, really happy to be here with this group of women. Really exciting. One of the biggest challenges I experienced was having to face the fact that I did not have the ability to wear all the hats, that I didn't have the to wear all the hats, because I come from this background where I'm good at what I do. So I then had to face, but I'm not good at everything. And then that presented the next challenge as I transitioned my business. I was in one profession for a while and then transitioned, where I was running a very successful, I'm going to say, real estate business. And when I transitioned to coaching, the money was on the real estate side. I had not learned how to make money in what my purpose was. So I had to pick a side. And I had to pick the side that had no money with it yet. And then I had to realize that I needed to hire help. And I remember I had no money with that side of it. So that's one of the biggest challenges I faced as I really got going into what I now am doing and have been doing since 2007.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I know that feeling. It's like the whole bootstrap thing, right? Yeah, only we ain't got no bootstraps.
Boots were worn down with no, so yes.
They gone. They've been gone. Okay, I don't even know we ever had them. So, I think. What about you, McKenna? What have been your challenges?
When I think of the word challenge, I think about possibilities for change. There has been several challenges I went through as far as just starting my own business, going off on faith, like Dr. Dale Gines was saying, Black women are known for just stepping out on faith and just doing it. And that's exactly what I did. I stepped out on faith. And that was a challenge for me because no one in my family had ever business like this, so I didn't have my family to talk to about it. And so thank God, when I decided to restart my business full time, it's because I lost my job as a social worker. I was doing my business on the side, just here and there, and then I was literally laid off. And I told my husband, and this is with me making good money, business is all. And I was 7 months pregnant at the time. And I told my husband, I said, I need to do my business full time. And I said, if you do this for me, I said, you will become a rich man. And my husband looked at me, McKenna, what, you're getting laid off, you're pregnant. And my husband was in between, like he literally was working on his credential teacher, working full time at Kinko's as an office manager, working at night doing security at House of Blues when it first opened, and teaching fitness on the side. And here his wife saying, I'm going to go off on faith and do this thing full time. And this was my second child too. So I had a 10-year-old, and I hear I'm about to have a newborn. And my husband's like, okay. And the baby's due like in 3 months. So I always tell people, first of all, when the chance come, and then when I say it was pulled for me, it was like, okay, you about to get laid off, it's happening, and so I'm saying this. So, and that year, I actually launched my first comedy show on December 3rd, 2005. Thank God I have a very great, and still have this great mentor, Dr. Anna Jar, who had been working with me for 2 years prior to me going full time with my business. And she put spiritual faith into me about developing me as a person first. And so I could maneuver through adverse situations. And that's what I learned. It's like that faith walk, and I was scared, just like anybody, especially when you're making good money, and then you moving from like zero to creating, and also I really appreciate the Mooney twins, who would start off as my first celebrity clients doing wealth seminars. And when I went to them and said, you know what, I have this idea that when my clients keep on saying I should do a comedy show with you guys, do you want to do this with me? And they say, yeah, I'll do it. And Mooney twins, for people who don't know who they are, is Paul Mooney's sons. So that blessing was, first of all, having faith, that we could do this. Going to a client I already had and say, I want to try something new. And they saying yes, and then going out and doing it, not knowing what it looks like. And that was my first comedy production. Ended up having over 80 some people with family and friends supporting me. And so that's why your network is very important. So important, Michelle. Because you're a serious networker. And I tell my people, it's like, how did you start a business? Family, friends, people I've been knowing over the years, people that I had worked with, volunteering with, people that I had helped them with their businesses, and just being supportive in our community. And when your time comes, those people will come and support you when you lift off. So our social equity is everything when it comes to dealing with challenges and having the right people, from my husband to my best friend, my Bessie, just being there in the trenches with me,
That's, that is the truth, because your relationships are currency. Your relationships have to act as currency when you don't have the real currency, that we're trading on the stock market. Okay. But if you could trade relationship capital on the stock market, I think we would be probably the most, we'd be trillionaires because we know how to get somebody to help us get stuff done. Okay. What's the next question we have for everybody, Claire?
What support did you receive? So we know in starting a business that it's really, really hard when you first jump out there. Like you said, you have the leap of faith, you have the idea, you have all of these things that I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that. And then the next thing you know, it's like, woo, I'm out here by myself. Woo, where's my support? Where do I get it? Okay, who's there to help me? But McKenna said there when she was talking about it is your social capital. It is those people, your friends, your this, your that. But I don't want to tell you guys about mine. I want you to tell me, what type of support did you have or did you receive when you first started off in your business? Okay. Let's see. Let's go with Ashley again. You kind of told us a little bit about your husband and that, but let's.
Yeah, definitely. My support, I got a ton of support from my husband and my other friends who also have their own ventures as well. Like, we hold each other accountable. And I think that is really important when, you are surrounded by like-minded individuals that are there to push you and really support you. And that meant a whole lot. I mean, along with my family and my husband, who never once was like, hey, like, go out and get a job or go out and get a 9-to-5. He was always like, okay, how can we make this bigger? How can I be an asset? How can I support you and push you? How can it teach you how to scale your business? At first I was like, yeah, I never really thought of that. And I'm like, you know what, that is really a thing in like, scaling and growing your business and expanding your network. It really meant a lot to me having the people that I am. I'm really blessed with my family and my friends that I have, as well as my mentors that I had as well. I built relationships with people that I've worked with and eventually developed relationships to where they could really like step out and help me and tell me their stories. And them having successful businesses, they were able to let me know like, hey, here are the challenges that I have, and it really helped me like, get through some of the things that I went through. So I'm thankful for them as well.
All right, well, thank you for that. And I too can ditto, if it wasn't for our supportive spouses, and we're very blessed ladies, McKenna, Ashley, those that have husbands in your life that are supportive of you. I don't know, Valerie, if you have a husband, but I know that my husband has been extremely supportive from day one, all the way up to those days that I doubt myself and think that, I can't do this anymore. And I know all of us have those conversations with ourselves at some point, right? And my husband would be that one that comes in and says, what are you talking about? You got to go get a job. You already have a job. Okay? So you just got to keep on pressing, take a break, but keep on pressing, So I thank you for sharing that, Ashley, because again, mentors, I can't say enough about mentors. And if those that are still on the line with us, if you don't have a mentor, I strongly suggest that you get one. And I know within Sister Cities, we're going to be having those type of programs and being able to help you to find who is in alignment with you. A mentor doesn't necessarily, like Dr. Gines was saying, doesn't necessarily have to be somebody to look like you. My mentor, I have several of the mentors, and many of them are white. They're not black. Some black ones now, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are not. But it doesn't matter about the ethnicity in terms of who they are, your mission, your goal, and your dreams. And if they're in alignment with that, then you got it going. So Let's talk to someone else about their support system. Valerie, let's hear from you. What support system do you have?
So, like you said, Clara, mentors are very important. When I first started my business way back in 1994, when I first became an entrepreneur, I had to learn that I had to surround myself with people who were doing well at what it is I was trying to do. And so it was a man named Duncan Clark. I remember him clearly, who shared with me how to run a successful business. Now, unfortunately, I didn't know the value of what he was sharing with me at the time. So I had to keep reaching. I reached back later to get that information. And that's what kept me going. But I will tell you, one of my biggest supporters was my son. I was a single parent. And so, no, I did not have that other partner that was saying, it's okay, you go figure this out and get the business going. No, it was me and my son. And my son was such a supporter in the way that he took up the part of the household that he could do. I know one of my big moments in business was coming home late one evening, and it was probably 10:30 at night after being out showing houses all day. And my son was propped against the banister in our townhome with a note pinned to himself that said, "Mommy, please wake me when you get in." Because this is what he had learned to do. And Michelle and I talked about this the other day. Being in business has sacrifice. And so I was sacrificing a lot of what he needed me to do in order to run the business and provide for us. He didn't complain about that. My son is an amazing chef and cook now because of some of that time. But he did miss out on some things. And even now, he's a grown man. He thanks me for doing what I did. And I have to thank him as well. Because without him showing up like he did, I would not have been available to provide for us in the manner that I was able to do so.
God, that is that story about him propping and putting a note on himself. Wow, that's deep.
I'm proud I was able to tell it this time without crying, because I usually burst into tears. Because
I understand. I'm going to ask Kia the same question. What support have you had?
Wow, that's a big question, because we've had different types of support at different times. Starting from the beginning, the way that I designed the business was to be scalable, right? So we didn't start with a full coffee shop build out that would cost upwards of $400,000. What I did and what we did was get a cart. We had a coffee cart that we started with, and we were able to buy that and all the attached equipment, and it was self-contained and so on and so forth, from a grant. Got a grant to do that, and that was Legler Benbow that did that. And we built around that cart like nobody's business. We sure did. We put that in the building. You get your counter space, you get the people. She was at the front greeting people, making it the environment that it is and the vibe that we have. But that was a mere $10,000. And then we did a GoFundMe. We hardly pushed it. We were doing it on a project by project basis. So we were able to build around that cart, get the stuff we needed to prop up and support that cart canopy. And we got a bunch of social capital that I know you can speak to a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, we designed within the scope of Cafe X, we have what we call our expert team. I love doing that. It's almost like Wakanda, right? Yes, our expert team. And it consisted of community members, people that did business training. We had a lawyer on there, a social worker, Black social worker, mentors, youth mentors, and so forth. And this was the group that came together. Some of them had media experience, web design and that. And so we came together. They were largely responsible for helping mold the mission and vision for Cafe X, what the core values would be. And we, I mean, we put those on the board and I said, what does this actually mean to you? You know, one of our core uh, words is integrity. What does that mean and what does that look like? What does that feel like when you walk in the building? All those things. So all those things help kind of encapsulate and build and design and brand what Cafe X is and who we are. And our core philosophy is Ubuntu. I am because we are. We didn't just develop it for just us. We developed it for everyone in our community outside of being, like I said, just a family legacy. It's also a community legacy. So that was very important in the design and the scope. So that social capital that we gained was invaluable. We even had a session where we had community members that came in, we did a and everything, and we had this big piece of paper that people literally drew what they would like to see and wrote down comments about what they would like to see in the space. And we incorporated all of that into the design. So that was invaluable. That was more supportive than anybody really realized. And the design of Cafe X, that social capital was as important as that $10,000 that got that card.
It provided even, it provided like beyond the 10,000, like 10 times, 100 times 10,000. Okay, like literally, that's how you get it done. That's how we get it done. So,
and it became more than just our design. It became the community's design, and you know, it really plugged into their wishes and their vision of what they would like to see in their own community. So that was very important to us. Ubuntu, I am because we are, and we design nothing with just the idea in mind that it's just beneficial to us, because what good is it? If everybody around us is falling dead and debris falling all around you, what good is it?
Well, you know, the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, I watched, I don't know if anybody watched that on Netflix, but the Ubuntu, no, it wasn't that. It was Doc Rivers, whichever, I think it was the Boston Celtics. I think he created this Ubuntu, and a lady came up to him. Now, I hope that wasn't you. Was that you? And said to him, Ubuntu. He looked it up, and that's how they did that streak that they had. He taught them that. He taught them that.
It's very powerful.
Yeah,
So,
and I'll add before we move on to the other people that speak.
Yes.
These are people from all backgrounds, all races, ethnicities that helped build. We are serving and we are Black and we are proud of it. And that is our intention for our community. But it took so many people to really get this off the ground. And we are so grateful. And that is what we can create in this region, you know, when we all come together and work towards a common goal. So I have to mention that because our coalition is so broad.
That's what, you know what, and it takes a village. What did Dell say? It takes a village. McKenna, what do you wish was available to you when you started your business?
Money. I mean, the real deal is that, you know, I didn't have like the most perfect credit when I started my business. I didn't know that that I could get like, you know, business loans or different things that was accessible to me. I had to learn how to, you know, create, I guess, you know, the infrastructure. It was just so much was going on. And I remember my mentor telling me this, McKenna, if you learn everything at once, it will kill you. And so what I learned is go through the process. Just it's so much. This thing is so off the hook with you, Michelle, and what Claire is doing because it's a conversation we have. But as entrepreneurs, we thought we had to know it all, and we feel guilty for not knowing it all, and we shouldn't feel guilty because no one taught us how to do this. And we got inspired by others. Like I got inspired by Claire watching here. I got inspired by Maria Dow, who did African American Women on Tour, who I got to work with 2 years. These are women that I saw in business, Black women that never saw Black women in business before. And it's because of that, it inspired me that I could, you know, do it too. You know, so I know that money is important. Many women don't start business because they're afraid that they won't be able to take care of their households when they first start. And most of us work 9 to 5 while we're starting to build our business on the side. You know, thank God I already had a vision for having business 3 years prior to me going step out on faith to just do it because I got laid off. And thank God my husband was able to support my vision, because I know that's a blessing in itself, because that was a risk for both of us and our family. And so, so I know it's not easy. And so I think that's one of the things that I wish. So, you know, like they were saying that, you know, a woman, as women, is like, we want so much for our families. That's the main reason why we do what we do, is because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to work for myself, because I was a single mom for 10 years prior to my marriage. And so I got tired of the rat race, and I had a vision in me, and I wanted to do it. And I know money was a factor for me not doing it for a number of years, because when I could do it.
Wow, thank you, McKenna. That's so, I mean, literally, you are speaking the truth to power there.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is, McKenna. And I'm so thrilled that I was there, you know, for you to see me do my cereal pieces, because I know you were there. Okay, you saw it. But I so admire you, because you just got out there and you took this thing to a whole nother level. And I want to say publicly before anybody else, so we get to the next one, is that the real piece of this is you have something very special in terms of you and your husband's bond. And I love the way that I see the two of you supporting each other in his entrepreneur business, as well as you and your entrepreneur business. That is huge, okay? So kudos to you and to your family for that. So with that being said, we're going to move on to Ashley. Ashley, what do you wish was available to you when you started your business, Ashley?
Honestly, I would have loved to be more aware of some mentorship programs. It would have been even cooler if there was a mentorship program around that was specifically for creative businesses, because I do feel that we deal with our own set of challenges and growing our business. So it really would have been great to have something like that and have somebody that is in that same industry and could speak to the challenges that they face and, you know, painting that picture for me. So I think that that would have helped me get across some of those earlier hurdles that I had in developing my business, and also pointing me toward those resources. Like speaking of what McKenna was saying, like, you know, money is a big thing when starting a business. And I really wasn't fully aware that there were so many grants out there. And just recently, with everything with COVID happening, you know, there were so many new grants that was rolled out to small businesses. And I know, Clara, you were really big and always staying in my inbox like, girl, check out this grant, girl, check out this grant, check out this grant. Like, Clara was on it, and she was making sure that she was giving me all the information, and I truly am grateful for that. But it would have been great to know about some of this stuff in the beginning when I first started. I feel like that could have really helped me a lot in the growth of my business.
Okay, well, you are quite welcome. And you know, I have this model that I say all the time, and Dr. Gines mentioned it as well. We as Black women, we are so smart. We have so much information, but the information is only as good as us sharing it. And I say, if you know something, share it.
Yeah.
Because there's enough out here for everybody, right? So you are so welcome. I must have sent it. I think I posted it on my Facebook page. Every time I would get some information about some money, I'm like, oh yes, let me tell everybody. Okay, this money.
You know, from now on, go to the Diamond BID. Go to the Facebook page, because we're gonna post everything. You know, we hear about it and we post it over there on Facebook or on Instagram, either way. But all the different programs are there too.
Yeah.
So we hear about it, we post it.
Yes, if you know it, post it. Let's share. And this is so wonderful. I just can't thank Sean for this vision, and Michelle for being there to edge him on to move forward in this, because this is what we needed. We've been waiting on it. And so, you know what? I'm going to say this. through turmoil and through adversaries and through all of the challenges that life throws at us, we have to say thank you. I say thank you to God. I say thank you because COVID did something for us. COVID did something for us. The social unrest, all that, we know that's been going on for all of our lives, right? But it did something for the world. And the COVID, I say, because it made us stop. It made us stop. It made us think. It made us get reconnected to our families and to our friends and to those people that support us.
Yes.
So good that has come out of this, and I cannot wait until 2021 to see all the greatness that all of you guys are going to do. Okay, so let's keep
we're all
this
going to do together, that we're all going to accomplish together.
There you go. We don't have to work alone anymore.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
So we want to get
into our Q&A.
Questions?
Here, I'm here. So, hello, question. There are so many questions. We're probably not going to get to all of them, but I'm going to, there's actually most of them, Clara and Michelle, are to everybody. So you may want to decide who says what so people know who's on first, but I'll start with there was one question that came in directly to one person at the very beginning. And it's a question regarding what keeps coming up, which is money. And Ashley, this is to you. And the question was just simply, what type of financial support did you receive?
Okay. And I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because I just kind of jumped the ball a little bit.
Oh.
Can we hold that question? Because we do have a break here that we wanted to talk about have our founder come on and say something. And then we'll come back. I'm sorry, Leslie. Just a break. We had a little.
Quite all right.
I got too excited. I'm sorry. So at this time, we're going to have the founder, Sean McClendon, come back on and join us. And he's going to talk about areas of impact. Sean, are you there?
I am here. I just can't turn on my video yet. There we go.
No worries.
So hello, everyone. Again, as Clara said, I'm Sean. I'm waiting for the slide to come up and my video to come up.
We know we love those little hiccups that we get with technology, but hey.
So here we go. All right, so we talked a lot, and Gail was awesome. We talked a lot about the ecosystem itself. And so what I really want to give an understanding about is how we actually practically want to interact with the ecosystem. So what we've done in Sister Cities is we've actually created 3 areas that we call our areas of impact. Okay, let me start my video here. Okay, so we've created 3 areas. We call them our areas of impact that actually interact with the ecosystem. For example, our first area of impact would be business growth. So business growth is actually what you're witnessing now, what you're participating in, which is the San Diego Black Women Entrepreneur Summit series. The point of business growth is to help businesses grow, because we feel like obviously one of the things we're all talking about, a lot of the questions are actually surrounded around, what do we do next and how do we actually, help these entrepreneurs take the next step and grow their business. And we in Sister Cities Project is committed to doing that. The next piece is workforce development. So we think that our workforce development piece, this is going to be somewhat of what we call our engine. We are actually building what's called an agency. slash digital agency. And the reason we're calling it this is because it has two parts. The first part is it's actually a consultancy slash business development section, where what we're actually going to do is have individuals that are part of the agency that actually help our entrepreneurs connect to the pieces of the ecosystem so that they have whatever they need. So we'll evaluate the businesses, try to understand, and this is what this whole summit series is all about, is actually getting information to understand what these entrepreneurs need. We're going to take all this information and we're going to have a evaluation to understand what these entrepreneurs need and connect them to the ecosystem in the areas that are most important to them and the areas that are going to help them have a more successful business. There's also going to be a section where we have an actual digital agency where we're going to employ young Black men and women in the underserved communities that we actually partner with. And we're going to allow them to have a hands-on training and allow them to actually support the businesses, local businesses in that community. Because traditionally, these local businesses do not have marketing services, so they aren't able to get the word out. So not only will we support these local businesses, but we will also be supporting the entrepreneurs that we work with. The entrepreneurs actually being first and foremost. So those are the two areas we're going to work with. And then lastly, we have, I think my slide went away. Lastly, we have our cultural exchanges. And these are things that we've been doing recently, the cultural exchanges, where we actually take residents from our partnership communities, affluent communities. We'll head down to, for example, right now we have Solana Beach in Southeast San Diego. So we'll take residents from Solana Beach down to Southeast San Diego, and we will actually support a Black-owned business by buying food or lunch from this Black-owned business, find a space that is important to the community and have lunch there and actually talk about different things that are how the two communities can support each other. Those are just some of the ways, those are some of the programs that we've created to actually engage with the ecosystem. The one thing that we actually need is support from everyone here. And I think my time is somewhat up. And with the areas of impact. So what I really want to say, and I think what's most important, so we've heard from everyone, we've heard from our great entrepreneurs, we've heard all the challenges, we've heard the stories, we've heard from our moderators, and what's most important in this entire thing is the entrepreneurs themselves. So at the center of Sister Cities Project right now are the entrepreneurs, are the Black women entrepreneurs that we are actually building a network for. And the reason that's important is because we want to support them. We don't want to just talk about this. This is not a call about just listening to the stories. We want to support them. How do we support them? We need everyone on this call, the reason we're having this call, to actually be a part of that ecosystem. We will be sending out a link after the summit series to everyone that was on the call. And it's a survey. And one of those questions is allowing each person that's on this call to identify which part of the ecosystem you'd like to support or which part of the ecosystem you want to be a part of. That's extremely important. We need everyone. We need to build this ecosystem, this network of people that these entrepreneurs can tap into. Lastly, everyone on this call, what we really need, we actually have a sponsorship package. And so if you're listening, if you're part of a corporation, if you feel like you just really want to support, what we need to do is build this ecosystem out. We're not just talking about it. We want to build the network and then build the ecosystem out. The programs that I talked to you about, it's very important. If you want a sponsorship package, you want to see what that's all about, please contact us and we'll send out a sponsorship package. You can contact me personally. You can email us, anybody on our team, and we'll get you that sponsorship package so we can start to actually fund this thing to make it real. So at this point, I think we want to go back and do the Q&A, correct?
That's correct.
Do you want me to go ahead and take it, Clara? Okay. All right. So Ashley, I'm going to take the question one more time to you, and thank you so much. The question that came directly to you was, what type of financial support did you receive?
For me, primarily financial support came from family members that believed in what I was doing, wanted to support me and see me grow. Like I said, I never really took advantage of some of the grants and things that were out there because I wasn't really that aware of them, or I felt for some reason they weren't available to me for whatever reason. And now I'm definitely stepping up and taking advantage of some of those things. But before, it didn't seem like it was really an option at first. But now that I have people like Clara and other people that let me know the resources that are out there, I'm definitely taking advantage of those things.
Thank you. Clara and Michelle, I'm now going to ask questions that are sent to everybody. So we can just decide, people can decide how they want to answer. The first one is actually a great question, and I'm not sure everybody will want to answer it, but the question is this: did anyone quit or resign their day job before seeing profit in their business?
No, I would
start with, okay, go on, Ashley.
I don't think I did, because the reason I quit my business, my job, was because, hey, I'm making money doing this design and it's rivaling, I'm getting at my job. So let me go ahead and take this a little bit more seriously. So I think that I was seeing profit before I hopped into saying I'm gonna quit my job for sure.
Does anybody else want to answer that one?
I think I'm a little unique in that I fit into the category of I had a previous career, now it's kind of the second career. I'm not doing corporate again, and I'm moving forward with something else that, for myself. So I left my 20-year plus job knowing with that intention. So I guess you could say, yes, I was doing consulting and I did some contractual work from the point that I left that job. And then I've worked my way to our now Cafe X. So that's kind of how my journey went. So I would say yes, but I did a little twist.
And me, I'm always working. I'm doing other things. I like to do several things. So no, I do this, and it's 2 full-time jobs that I have.
We can relate to that because we were once your age and we did it all like that too.
Yeah, we did. I can relate to that question, but I would say the way that what Dell spoke, remember he said, we think it and then we speak it into existence. I had spoken it so long that when the opportunity came, I don't suggest this, y'all. But I quit on a Friday and started with this person on a Monday. So it was an opportunity. I didn't even think should I do this? Because I'd been wanting to do it so long, it just felt like the next thing I needed to do. So, but I would say profit has not been something that I've had a whole lot of. And, when you're a single business owner, solopreneur, the stats are real because you're selling your time. So you've got to figure out how to leverage your knowledge, and you're not 20 years old sitting in somebody's basement eating ramen noodles. So, you got bills. You're a grown woman. Okay. So, that's part of the challenge. And that's if the ecosystem could solve that, then we all right.
Exactly. And then I can speak to that really quick. I had a different type of journey, but again, leaving my corporate job after 22 years, I did have a plan. All right. So I planned because I knew I wanted to leave. So my next step was I put the plan together. I spoke to my family about it. My husband, I had 2 small children at that point. And I just decided that, you know what? If they said it's okay, my husband said it was okay, then I'm okay. Had my money put aside, so I was a little bit different, but I did start my serialpreneurship while I was still working. I must have had like 4 of those things going on. Didn't know which one was going to be the one. And everybody knew me from the black art lady to the, the Mary Kay lady to I was doing the most, okay? Remember that? I was doing the most. And then one day I woke up, right? And I was like, wow, you know what? I'm making some great money at this stuff, right? And I was loving just connecting to people. And that's when the light bulbs start coming on and saying, I'm in the wrong place. You know what? Because I love being out and connecting to people. And that was it for me. And the rest is history, but it was that aha moment for me. And I never turned back, and it's been getting ready to be 21 years since I've been out from corporate. Never went back, never got another job, and I have been okay. Still was able to do everything and more when I was not working for that job. So,
okay.
No regret.
I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question. This is a nitty gritty, and I think everybody would be really grateful for answers from everybody. Their questions keep coming up about how people get health insurance for entrepreneurs. I think everybody knows that's a tough one. So I'll open it up to everybody for that.
I guess I could start. Is that okay? Jump in.
Yes.
That's a real good question, because one of the challenges I had was that when I got laid off from my job, I was pregnant, and so we didn't have any health coverage, and they had like Cobra thing going on where I would have to pay maybe up to, I think, $400 a month if I wanted to continue my coverage, which was not in our budget at all. And my husband was like, hadn't got a full-time job for his teaching yet. He was still working on his credentials. So in between that, and that's a good question, because I never have shared the story with people that I actually had to apply for Medi-Cal in between that. And we literally was like this close to not getting it. So it just happened because my husband was working several jobs at the time. So he worked in the Kiko's and he was working at House of Blues part-time. And so when they did the numbers, they said we made too much money to get it. And here I am about to have a baby. So I was looking at the options of possibly just having to pay for it to have the baby, which was going to be about $2,500. Of course, it's $2,500 if you do a natural birth, and it's $10,000 if something happened, get a C-section. So that's something we had to think about. And thank God, my husband literally, he was at House of Blues working. They had just opened up, working part-time, doing security at night. And so he had got, I guess, his hours got cut like a week before, like for about 3 weeks before I about to have a baby. And so I went back to the case manager and said, guess what? My husband's hours just got cut. What can we do? And then she's like, and she redid the numbers, and we literally was $1 off from not getting it. So I literally got health care right before I was about to have my second son. And so that is a big challenge for entrepreneurs. And so based on my own research that I had to do, I had to possibly go pay money, and then, or either I had to, get Cobra, which was the other option. But what I've learned in the process is that there are some different programs out there now that's geared towards entrepreneurs as far as healthcare, and you just have to figure out what fits you. But and now my husband is actually with the school district, so our benefits are taken care of that way. But that is a serious question, because I know we were like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So thank you so much for asking that.
Thank you. And thank you for answering it. Did anybody else here want to answer that? Otherwise, I'll jump to another question for you. Okay.
I'll answer. I'll say something. Okay. So basically, I will tell you that for the first, I've been doing this like 16 years. For the first 10 years, I learned how to keep myself well. Okay. I learned how to keep myself well. I ended up learning, I had, you got the internet. I learned homeopathy. I learned natural care. I learned alternative care. And some of the things that I learned have kept me well to this day. And I've really kind of maintained those practices. However, I will say that I got sick. My parents, when they were sick, I got sick. I got admitted to the hospital on an emergency basis. So I ended up with, Obamacare is a great plan. But you can not the exchange, when you go there to the exchange, to the place on the web, and you plug in your information, and they do give you choices of plans, you know, on the exchange. So that's basically what I did at that time. But I'm telling you, there is no real answer, and this call really has brought that home. Okay, this is an interesting question, but I learned to keep myself well. That's what I did.
So from this kind of talking about the nitty gritty, here's something kind of at the opposite end, and this is just about influences. It's a great question. How has sisterhood influenced your business? And let's just start with Kia and Cynthia. I'm gonna go ahead and then go.
Okay. How has sisterhood influenced the business? Well, as we know, our Black women, there are no more powerful humans on earth. Women in general, Black women in particular, for me and my experience, I gain a lot of strength from our stories and our struggle and our similarities, because when I talk to my sisters, they are able to relate to every aspect. What you said about the healthcare, my answer was, gotta take care of yourself. I did without. The point where I was not employed, I was in between contracts and all that. What do? You take care of yourself. It just becomes that simple. So I came from a family, I had a great aunt who owned a beauty salon, 30 years. She was in business for herself, her whole working career. I gained a lot of strength. I considered her part of that sisterhood. I kind of like to emulate her. The problem, and she had a lot of the same challenges that we're talking about today. She didn't have a huge network. She was a small business, and she did okay for herself, but ended up dying within 5 years of her retirement. So she really did not get to enjoy the fruits of her labor in a big way. So another goal was to do better in one generation for the next generation. Do a little bit better, leave a legacy, leave a plan. What we considered, go to school, get educated, get a good job, all that doesn't apply anymore in this global environment. It just doesn't. And we have to come to that truth and educate and help nurture our offspring to do something different that's going to provide and sustain them, So that's kind of a long answer.
Thank you so much. I'm actually going to jump over to Valerie and ask Valerie if you would speak to that as well, please.
Certainly. So number one, keeping yourself healthy, but looking at it from an abundant mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. There are resources. With sisterhood, we just have to look at who our circle is. And that whole that social economy that we've been speaking about. I know for me, I have definitely benefited from keeping a tight circle of people who will feed into me. There are two things that I look for on a regular basis. One is someone to help, and the other is someone to learn from. And I keep a circle of women around me like that. And I'm going to tell you, often I feel like I'm in the I'm learning from area much more than the helping. And that is such a value to me, my business, the growth of my business, and then being able to reach over and help someone else is so important. But the learning from part keeps us humble. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers. It also allows for growth. So that's one of the most important parts for me.
Wow, that's real.
Thank you so much. It looks, I'm getting the timing clock, so I'm going to ask one more question. We've gone through most of them, and this is I'm going to read it exactly as it was written. Even though we may have wished things were different or have known about different things, do we think that would have altered our journey or our tenacity and resilience? Ashley, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, yeah, I think that it definitely would have altered my journey. Like knowing the resources that were available, because that was one thing I said that I didn't know about. Hearing stories, networking with my peers in my industry, I believe if I would have did those things in the beginning, that I definitely would have seen more growth in my business in the earlier stages versus just kind of figuring it out as I went. So for sure, I think that it would have somewhat altered my journey. I'm grateful for my journey. Don't get me wrong, from that where I am now, but still, I definitely think it would alter my journey.
Thank you. Clara and Michelle, I'm being told I think we are wrapping up the Q&A portion. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We are wrapping up, but I wish we weren't.
There's so much here. I know.
Yeah, I wish we weren't.
Well, I'm going to pass the baton to you then, and thank you so much.
Okay, dope. We have Sean is going to talk about did we do the survey? We didn't do the survey yet, right? We didn't put the information up about that?
No, not yet. But we're going to just thank our sponsors at this point, and then we're going to do our announcements. And I think the survey will come after that. Got
it. Where's the sponsors that we need to put that slide up.
So again, thank everybody for being on this.
All of you. I mean, we still got people are here. People sat through this. They really, thank you panelists so much for sharing your real stories. That was the whole point of this, was to get the real stories out.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. So thanks to our sponsors and our partners that are listed here. Again, we could not have done this without you. Mm-hmm. And this is our first, and we're just looking at it to get even better. We're going to have this whole screen filled up with sponsors before it's all over, I'm sure. But again, we're just very thankful for all of them. Goldman Sachs, MCCSN, Urban Aquaman 360, The Diamond, BID, and 8560, and San Diego Workforce Partnership. So again, thank you to all of you. And also just thanks to our amazing team, planning team, who's behind the scenes. We've been working from sun up to sundown to present this first series to you all. And we just have an amazing team. I can't even say enough about them. Sophie, who is the planner on this project, has just, oh my gosh.
Yes.
She's a star.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Adria and Milan from UA 360 streaming this all over the place for us. This is, this ecosystem, this is our village. We are so grateful for everyone. So, that is, we hope everybody will join us for series 2. If you see that, we're going to be talking about, what did we say? Social capital and culture. That's our next series. That's our next in the series. And so I really hope that you choose to join us again. We will have a speaker that's just as dynamic, or I don't know if he can, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure we will. And then, we'll have more entrepreneurs. So Claire, is there anything else you want to?
I think that we have the only thing I can say is that check the website frequently. SistersBeingProject.org. You will be able to follow us on all of our social handles, but more importantly, we want to continue the conversation and just keep talking, because that's when.
Let's see if we really can continue the conversation on LinkedIn. Why don't we see if we could do that?
We have a group set up already.
I know we do, but we kind of, people like Facebook groups, but let's try LinkedIn. Let's really try it.
We have a LinkedIn group set up.
Let's do it.
Yep.
I'll do it. I'll get in there. I promise. I will go in there every single day. I really will. I'll go look.
Check it.
Okay. That's my challenge. That's my challenge to myself. The only person I'm trying to be better than is me. Okay, that's who I'm trying to be better than.
I hear you, girl. Your own competition. I
I'm
love
my
it.
own competition. That's it. That's what matters. Okay, doesn't matter. Nothing else matters.
And again, I just like to say thank you to the amazing, trailblazing panelists. You guys were just dynamic.
I
I
mean,
love information.
yes.
You're, you know,
And Sean, you know what? Your story about your mom really does hit home. Thank you so much for taking that and channeling it. You know, you lost her at 13. You know, that's young. And so for you to be able to do this right now is amazing. So thank you. Thank you for that.
right. So until we meet again, we're signing off and we thank you so much and have a safe week and enjoy.
We'll see you on the 16th.
A pleasure.
That's right. There we go.
Good evening. This is Will Robeson.
This is Milan Rivera.
And we have Urban Alchemy 360.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy Michael K. Williams, and right now you chilling with Urban Alchemy 360. Stay up.
It's time for women and all those who have not had a voice to speak.
You can do it all. I learned how to be vibrant.
Excellence knows no gender. I go zoom, 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 zoom.
If she can do it, so can I.
Kachi Okuchi,
Naishi and Doro.
Maggie Rollins,
Monica Singh,
Valentina Sampaio,
Tatiana McFadden.